This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined this evening by Shane McGuigan. What are you laughing at?
Very professional for 3 AM.
Is it 3 AM?
Oh yeah, 3 AM. I'm going to do a Kevin Johnson again. Ask me the questions.
How are you, Shane?
It's not a question.
No, it isn't. That's a question. How are you?
It's not really. You know how I am because you've just been sitting with me for the last 2 hours eating pizza. I'm full. I'm enjoying myself after a good victory. So yeah, delighted with the performance. And Josh is next door having a good time. All just had some pizzas, enjoyed it. First stage of the WBSS for us, the quarterfinals, so got that one out of the way in a relatively easy fight, and now we've got a world title fight around the corner.
I'm going to take this back. I think it's something like OCD about it. I don't like people touching my microphone.
You shave your hands all the time.
I know, yeah, it's because my arms aren't very strong, so I actually have to change it. It's terrible. Anyway, Josh Taylor, tell me a little bit about his performance. Looked spectacular against Ryan Martin this evening.
No, he did. He looked really good. It was everything for me that what the Victor Postol fight wasn't. It was a very measured performance. He could have let himself, so I could have let him off the reins almost, and he could have let himself off the reins early on. But he, we thought Ryan Martin was sort of starting slow, trying to take the pace, sort of pick the pace up as the rounds go on later on in the fight. But what Josh did is he just took everything away from him, took all his confidence away after 3 or 4 rounds. He was shaking his head, and you could just see, ringside that he just knocked all the fight out of him really early. And let's not just discredit what Ryan Martin, who he is. Obviously he's relatively unknown, but he's a US amateur boxer. He's obviously, to get into that team, you've got to be a decent fighter. Raved about in the States as the next sort of prospect, and Taylor just took him apart.
Were you expecting more from him on the night, or did you think that this had the potential to be what it turned out to be?
I did, unfortunately. I did think it could have been a pretty easy fight for us. I watched him earlier on in his career. I've basically all the tape I've seen was from when he just turned pro to the last sort of few fights. And his last 3 fights, he's been standing there and taking too many shots. Getting away at a lower level against fighters that like Bradis Prescott, that his best days were at lightweight, and it was at light welter, and you look at how much someone like Bradis Prescott's declined, and he was sort of having a back and forth fight with him. The fact is that Josh Taylor's on another level, and you can't give 3 shots like that away, because you're going to start getting marked up, you're going to get bruised up, you're going to get slowed down with the body shots, and it pretty much escalated exactly the way I thought it might have. But obviously you're thinking about it, you don't want to underestimate him, and you're expecting the best and new and improved version of Ryan Martin, but he just didn't show up to that.
What was different about Josh in the build-up to the fight? Well, not the build-up to the fight, but for today. I've been around him. I was around him before the Postol fight in the dressing room. Was he any different this time? Did that have any bearing on what we saw from him tonight?
No, I mean, he said to me when he fought at Hara Davies, he said, I'm so relaxed, I'm so confident. And he was looking at me the same way there today. With the warm-up, just nothing fazed him. With the Burnett fight going so quick, once it had sort of gone past 5 rounds, there wasn't going to be a swing fight, and it was in and around that time when it was all right, you've got 20 minutes, or they said you got to leave here in 15 minutes. I said no, we need 25 minutes, and there's a little bit of commotion in the change rooms, and nothing fazed him. Like Josh is a guy that loves his warm-ups. He loves his easing his way into sort of getting prepared to go into battle, and he was just so measured. He just had an air of confidence about him, and I think he really needed that Postol fight to go into a tournament like this, because he's going in there as a number 2 seed, believing he's the number 1.
You mentioned the Postol fight. It feels like we've spoken a lot about that since that fight. Now we've seen the performance against Martin. Now he has looked so good. Was that kind of the proof in the pudding? Did he need that performance tonight to kind of really show that he had learned from the Victor Postol fight?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, we've dwelled on the Postol fight, but it was still a very. It had all the ingredients that you would take away thinking that Josh Taylor's going to be a superstar in the sport. He came on strong later in the fight, and he got hurt and stuff, and he showed so much tenacity to overcome it. You go into a fight like this with a guy that's a relatively unknown, and he just completely dissects him and didn't even let him even get started. At one point, he sort of just put his hands up and let him and engage with him, and it was like, you just don't need to do that. But yeah, he's developed as a person, as a fighter, so much off the back of that fight that I like to keep saying it, because it's so important. With how much he's taken from just that one fight, it was worth the rest of the 12 fights that he has as a pro. And we've got a completely different task ahead of us in Barancek. Obviously, he's coming off a good destructive win against Yigit. It was obviously stopped because of the massive eye, but he did look pretty impressive in that fight. Yigit hit him with some decent shots. He just walked straight through him. He's a strong, physically very strong. I don't know how much of a one-punch knockout artist he is. It would be a lot stiffer of a hitter than the likes of Ryan Martin. And also, you look at what Martin does. Martin likes to block, and as soon as you stop punching, he likes to start working. And that was one of the things we did in the fight was, let your hands go, let your phases go, and then drop back. And as soon as you drop back, just keep nudging just that little bit further away, so you take his first shot off him, and he could never get going. Whereas Barancek's he's gutsy. He's going to come and hit you. As soon as you start punching, he's going to try and punch with you. It's going to be a completely different fight. It's going to be a much harder fight, but still one that I know that we are going to be able to come up with something strategic and walk away with a world title.
What was the most pleasing part of Taylor's performance tonight? Was it kind of the mental maturity, or was it the technical side of things? What were you pleased about in particular?
No, I think it's the mental maturity and how he kept focus. He never once looked out of the ring, something that he did a lot in the Postol fight. It's funny. I saw that Zach Parker fight, and I was watching him I went up and watched the first 2 rounds, and he kept looking out, and there was 2 big screens outside the, because it was sort of sectioned off, and there was 2 big screens up on where the drapery was hanging, and he was looking out at it, and it reminded me a lot of what Josh was doing in the Postol fight. He was looking outside the ring, and it's almost looking for like confidence outside, and you have to sort of have 1 or 2 of those acid tests. I mean, Carl Frampton against Rob Turley, he was looking outside the ring at me, and it was like, you have to just focus with who's in front of you. I know you might not really respect them the same way, you would a massive puncher, but then again, Josh switched off and got caught with Postol. So you've got to respect who's in front of you. You've got to be on it and mature and focused the whole way through a fight, because one stupid mistake can completely swing it. So for me, it is definitely the mental maturity, the way that he's taken from, he's built off those fights he's had before, and he's come in and he's now getting that level-headedness, and it's something that I've always known. He's had that technical ability, the speed, the timing, the shot selection. He's a gifted human being, but it's the mental side that he's always had the will to win, but it's how to keep focused and stay disciplined is what I'm really impressed with tonight.
What you say about that mental aspect of things, one of the things that Josh has said to me, and as obviously would have said to you as well, in the build-up to the Postol fight, it was very much, if I win this, then I become mandatory. If I win this, I get to go to World Boxing Super Series. Now he's got a world title fight in his next fight. It's guaranteed. Are you going to be wary of kind of trying to keep him grounded he's won his box for a world title for his entire career, both amateur and pro. Is that something that you're now going to think, okay, now we're boxing for a world title, I need to stay on him from a mental point of view?
Well, there's many different variables that can change a boxer's mindset. There's money, there's world titles, there's outside, issues going on with people, and you never, never really know how people are going to adapt to these sort of things. I've worked with enough fighters now to know that everyone's individual. Some people can have the most amount of money in the world, and if they haven't achieved their dreams and won a world title, they're still focused. Sometimes when they win a world title, they're not quite as disciplined to get in the gym the next day. You know, for instance, George Groves, as soon as he won that world title, because he worked so hard to get it, he came back hungrier, you know, into the gym. And you know, everyone's different. Everyone has different aspirations and from what they want from this sport. And there's going to be a massive change in Josh Taylor's life in the next 10 to 12 months. Not just because of money. It's because I believe he's going to be a unified world champion. He's going to pick up an IBF belt in his next fight, and then the WBA in the final. And with that's going to come a heck of a lot of money. A lot of people that are going to be backslapping you and wanting to get on the journey. And this is when, for me, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people come into suddenly be best mates with someone, and they want to jump in and be part of the journey. And just there's so many different things that can go on. But you know, it's up to me as a coach. It's up to Josh as a human being, and my father as a mentor and manager to just, you know, just keep him grounded. And he's got a lovely family around him. He's got Jamie, his dad. He's got Dan, his mum. He's got his younger sister Finch and his girlfriend Danielle. They're great people. You know, they're gonna also be massive contributors to keeping him humble and honest. And I've got a pretty good way of, in the gym, I take the piss out of everyone. You know, no matter if you're the superstar walking in, some people don't like it, but it keeps them honest. And if they don't like it, then they can get out of the gym. And Josh is, you know, always getting it ripped out of him, and you know, it's not going to change, and he knows that, and he doesn't want it to change. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be something that I believe, you know, it's going to change his life forever. But as long as he stays disciplined and doesn't even take any notice of anything else that's changing around him, then he's going to have a pretty amazing career.
What's next for Josh Taylor after the Victor Postol fight? I mean, it wasn't a fight that added miles to the clock, but I mean, the build up to it, the fight itself, he had to show some things. He needed some time off, some well-deserved time off after the fight. We've been sitting with him. It doesn't look like he's even had a fight. Are you going to be expecting him back in the gym sooner? Obviously, now you've got the World Boxing Super Series. You know that there's a date coming up, or is he going to be having usual time off, as it were?
No, he'll have 2-3 weeks off max. It's because there's a tournament, you're never really going to switch off. You know, someone like Josh, I alluded to it earlier on in the week, that it favours guys like him that are in their prime and peak, and they're 27 years of age and they're fresh. You know, they want to be in the gym all the time. He's a gym rat. You know, that's what he is. He'd be in the gym all day, every single day. He'd be in it tomorrow, and I have to tell him to take a little bit of time off. And he's learnt now that you can't just stay fit and sharp year round, because it's not how it works. You've got to learn, when you're a championship level fighter, you've got to peak. You've got to come back down, you've got to take some time off, you've got to get a little bit of chub on you. Not necessarily blowing up to 15, 16 stone. You've got to enjoy yourself, because you need something to train off for the next camp. You need something to get your teeth stuck into, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to have 2-3 weeks off. We'll have a date, I'm sure, pretty soon. I don't know if it will be in Glasgow. I don't know if it will be in the States or wherever. I know that the WBSS had aspirations of basing themselves much more in the States because of the DAZN deal, but I think that could potentially be the final that would be out there, and I would hope that we could get his second fight back here. You know, the semi-finals, because it gives him that little bit of G up. But you know, it'll all be sort of unfolded in the next month or two. But in the meantime, Josh will have a bit of time off and get a little bit of chub on him, and then come back into camp.
Now, after the fight, in the ring and in the post-fight press conference, I've heard you say it before. I've heard a number of other people say that Josh Taylor is the best 140-pounder in the world. I think tonight was probably the first time I heard him say that. Yeah. Why is that? Do you think that is a result of the Postol fight? It's a result of coming into this? Is it Is he sort of coming together mentally at this point in his career?
Josh is a funny one. Like, he's unbelievable ability, and some people that have I have other people in the gym. I have other people that have that ridiculous belief in themselves and mindset. Lee McGregor's a prime example. He's got huge belief in himself, and Josh has that. Don't get me wrong, he's got incredible belief in himself, but he's very respectful of other people and other people in the division. And I've been telling him since he turned pro, you're going to be the best fighter in the world, and Dad has too. And he's sparred Sean Porter. He's fought people all over. He's fought people in the States. He's proven himself bit by bit now, and I think now he's starting to really believe in himself. He's always believed that he was going to do it, but maybe a little bit further on down the line. But now he's 14 fights in, and his 15th fight's going to be for a world title in the semi-final of a huge tournament. So it's come at the perfect time for me to see that confidence come out of him, because if it had come out a little bit sooner, he might have taken his eye off the ball. Whereas it's coming out at the right time, and when you're a professional boxer, you got dreams to become the best in your division, to win a world title, win it outright, and that's something that he's always believed he could do, but now he knows he is that guy.
I appreciate it's very soon after the fact. But was there anything that he did in the ring, or was there anything that you looked at and you kind of thought, yeah, maybe that's something we still need to work on, or was it as close to punch perfect as you can get?
Could use his jab a little bit more. You can analyse it to the cows come home. He did everything he needed to do to win the fight and do it in good fashion. If he fought Ryan Martin again, I believe he would stop him in 3 rounds, and he would probably look twice as sensational, but because he knows what's coming back. You've always got to be respectful of who's in front of you, and he did that tonight, which is the huge plus.
How far away from his peak is he? Is there more to come? I'm talking from a mental and a technical point of view, and physical. How far away from the complete package is he?
Well, I truly believe he's a 140-pounder. He's a career 140-pounder. It's where he's at his biggest and strongest. He's got an advantage over people because he's got the speed of a guy that's a feather, super feather, but he's also got the punching power of a welterweight. Moving him up to a welter might take the edge off him. They weather a slightly better shot. So I believe he really is in his peak. He's in and around it. But that's not to say that he couldn't hold it for a very long time. Luke Campbell's 31 years of age, Olympic gold medalist, and he's still learning every day in the gym because he wants to learn. So, it's about your mindset moving forward, and you can always believe that you're not quite at your potential. And Josh loves boxing, which is a great thing. He sits there, he watches boxing, if someone does a nice little trick. I remember we were sitting in the taping his hands, and Burnett did a little slip, or I think it was Donaire did something back to him, and he went, "Oh, that was nice." So he just loves boxing, and that in itself keeps him on it. And that's something that he always watches Canelo, he'll watch Pacquiao, and once he's still looking at other people and seeing what they're doing, or Terence Crawford or something like that, then I still think he's got potential to learn, and we can work on things in the gym. So I would say he's getting into his peak, but maybe not at it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not going to keep you for too much longer because it is 3:15 in the morning. Pretty good going for us. Just finally, turn 30 next week, or this week now. Is it next? No, it's next week. It's Thursday. So have a good birthday. I will catch up with you soon. As always, it's a pleasure. Congratulations on your victory. It was a spectacular performance. I think the progression from the Postal fight to this fight is quite clear. Congratulations, and thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you, as always. Appreciate it, Rob.